Diana will discuss the blended learning post-pandemic. Ms. Diana Wilson is an experienced teacher and leader with over 20 years of experience in education. She is a collaborative presenter and occasionally she writes for knowledge exchange. Thank you, Ms. Diana, for joining us today, and you can take it from now.
Hi, and a very good evening to all of you. Those working today and have joined us, it must be a long day for you. So I thank you for joining me here. Short introduction of mine as to how my journey has been in the field of education and how I have come to experience so many types of teaching and learning that goes in the school as well as college systems. So I hope you enjoy the presentation that I have for you today. So let me introduce myself a little more in detail as to what I have just shortly. I'm in the field of education from past 20 years, and I've taught in Pakistan from 2000 up to 2013. And during this time, I completed my teacher training. I did my BA and then double masters in English, both literature and linguistics for English language teaching. I started my journey in the United Arab Emirates in November 2014, and again felt the need to study, and this time in place where I was born. So I was born in the United Arab Emirates. It's a long story way back. I'm not going to bring that in, but I would just would like to inform you that I completed my master's in education from here, from 2 different universities, and you will see now how blended learning has impacted the world around and how learning is being spread far and wide through online learning. So my first degree has been in the United Arab Emirates, in Masters in Education, which is M8 from an Australian university. Then later after that, in 2020, I felt the need to take my professional career to a level up into leadership, where I found MA Education Leadership in Practice, a very useful degree from the University of Manchester. Both has been a sort of blended learning, and with pandemic coming all over, everything went online, and I have experienced all sorts of learning, face-to-face as well as blended learning. So I hope that I bring a rich experience to you in today's presentation. May sound to some of you slightly debatable text, the blended learning post-pandemic. Since not only post-pandemic situation needs use of technology, I would say, but it is also, in fact, the need of time and means to connectivity with the world. I would like to draw upon Vygotskian theory of constructivism to support the obvious reasons behind encouraging the use of technology. So the theory informs, as many of you would know, how human mind constructs knowledge through zone of proximal development, that is, distance covered from the current stage of development to the next level as per the capacity and relevant provision as required to meet the minimum expected potential of learners. Broadly, just as human body needs energy and food serves the need, in the same manner, knowledge construction happens with exposure to knowledge. So technology, as we all agree, is a strong catalyst and connection building tool in business, similarly in schools to interact and make learning more engaging. And in today's world, it is used its use is more evident for those born in the digital age. So you might have come across this term of digital natives. So children who are born in the time of technology, if we do not bring that into lessons, I think we are depriving them from a large amount of knowledge and exposure that they can get otherwise. If I have to share my personal experience, my first exposure to a desktop learning was in year 6, way back in 1994. And they were all do's and don'ts that go along the route. It's not just that you expose the learners and all young and adults to the learning. They're all do's and don'ts to these kind of things. So not to use electronic devices would be to restrict that connectivity and where the transnational schooling demands in the international and local settings, support for education is required to blend learning. So I thought I would not straight away jump into the topic. Let's take a step back to its theoretical assumptions, and it is crucial to the very scope of blended learning. Yeah, thank you. So I have planned to discuss three broad points three broad topics, I would say in general. The first one I would say is emergence and impact of blended learning. It has been massive over the past years, ever since the schools and learning institutions have started to understand that teaching through technology makes a big difference. The second point is types of blended learning, then sustainability and intergenerational benefits of e-learning. I'm going to take you through the first point and then second and third in a sequence, and a bit in detail now so that I can connect the systems around in that way. So to start with, I would ask you a few questions, and you can use the chat box to enter your responses, your experiences around. So my first question that I would like to ask you, in what different ways do you embed technology in your lessons, being teachers, being leaders, or being parents? So how frequently do you use technology? You can just quickly drop in your responses in the chat. And I might drop my questions in the chat in case if I'm not really audible to some of you or you've just joined now. Yes, gaming is these days very, very in. Kahoot, yeah. Smartboard, graphing calculator. Thank you so much for your responses. This is quite helpful as to know that you people are very much involved in using technology and you know the benefits of it as it serves. Thank you very much. Now, what is blended learning? So to answer this question, I think it's very, very obvious and clear as we are all into technology these days. To start with the question, what is blended learning? First of all, blended learning does not replace the physical presence of a teacher in the classroom. Many institutions, I would say, fear that if we embed technology or if we use a lot of technology in schools, teachers might be replaced. No, that's not the case with blended learning. The quality of blended learning is basically, in all its essence, is a combination of classroom face-to-face learning and online learning. So setting classroom protocols are key to success for this type of learning in the digital age, where we cannot cut on its use and the need to add its component is important. So the advent of blended learning, I think there isn't any exact date that I can fix to, because ever since technology had come into practice, I think everyone had started to learn. As different tools and apps have developed, I think everything had just started to happen in the form of learning of different sorts. So roughly, blended learning has taken its rise in the 20th century, to be more precise, and with universities internationally have their LMS systems that support everyday teaching and learning in something one can fix a date to. So with most part of the world during 2020 has experienced, I think, most of it, and the most of blended learning, while some might have experienced no learning at all, range of number of reasons. There were no devices available. There was a lot of disruption otherwise. So now, since I bring the topic of blended learning in, I'm going to just take you in a short while to the slide where I give you the Cambridge link. We're all familiar with Cambridge University, Cambridge syllabus. They have recently shared on their blog, very recently, I think, while I was preparing for this presentation, I had discovered this blog of theirs where they have opened a way for schools who can connect with them and be part of their system to run schools online. And there are a variety of reasons, which I will just show you shortly. So what is the impact of blended learning? I think it's very, very open and obvious answer to this question. That is, I mean, if I have to talk about myself, so for me, blended learning is impactful and can make learning very interesting for both young and adult learners. With its start at the school level, help the learners to stay fluent in its use, and of course, not to exclude the employment rate these days that go along the very need of its institutionalization in the education sector. Since pandemic and post-pandemic, its impact has been even more. When we see a number of learning courses that are now on offer from around the world that need the start of blended learning, if it has not already in place. So I discuss three main areas within this aspect of blended learning, that is learning needs, how learning needs are catered through technology. Then the work through pedagogy, that is teaching and learning at school or at college level. Then empowering, how technology is empowering for professionals. So we're all familiar with diagnosis or statutory assessments for learners to know their cognitive abilities. How well is a child at mathematics, at languages, at spatial and quantitative learning needs, variety of them available. Apart from those children who cannot afford to or do not have enough of capacity to deal with it, they always do something or the other with the help of maybe a professional or parents at home. So there is a way if we try to find a way out. So it's very, very adaptable. And when once we adopt a certain strategy, we must know how to use it. So it's not about technology being a master of technology. It's basically to know how to use it. Once you know how to use technology, I think we as instructors can do wonders with it. Moving ahead to pedagogy, I think lesson planning takes less time and makes learning more interesting. You can embed online quizzes and provide exercises for practice and reinforcement of topics across all subject range in a variety of languages. So I think language is also not compromised through technology. A great range of them can be, and when internationally, English is one of the languages that acts as a lingua franca. I think then technology is available in that language. Educational planning is done effectively across I would say curriculum, syllabus planning, marks, what you say, schemes of work, monthly planning, micro and macro, all sorts of planning, and then again the data. Data is so important these days. Data analysis. We have inspections, we have triangulation of data. How do we do that? We do it all through technology, the use of it. So it's not just one aspect of pedagogy that is served, but a variety of these. We share resources just as we are conducting this presentation. I think it's going far and wide to different places around the world. Then empowering, I think teachers and organizations at large can feel massively empowered by use of technology. And when blended learning had come during pandemic time, I think it did do a great deal of job to bring people in, not schools together. It had happened at a large scale. I remember I was teaching a student from Africa. A student would join from Africa every day and did not miss a single lesson. So that particular student was basically getting a non-disruptive learning at her place. So a great deal of empowering tool that we have available here. Apart from that, schools send out surveys. How do they do that? Interviews, meeting face-to-face, online, etc. Moving ahead to types of blended learning. I have divided into two main parts of blended learning. To say is fully online, which we name it as asynchronous lessons, that is pre-recorded lessons, or you pre-plan them and share it across with the students. The second type is hybrid, Hybrid can further be divided into two different types. And the mention here is flex model and the second 2P. And that is, can't see on my screen. Yeah, flex style, which is less teacher involvement, and self-blend model or self-blend type, mostly in colleges and universities. So levels, I would say, or college level with each other. COVID is not over. There are several other outbreaks that keep disrupting the teaching and learning at large. What do we do? We need to keep the blended learning at a certain pace. And for that, again, we have two broad options given here, fully hybrid through synchronous lessons. I have two links on this slide. You can see, not sure which one opens up first. So if my co-host could just click on one of the links, and I'll show you one of the examples that I had created of online learning. And it's one of the types. Oh yeah, there we are. So this is my co-host. Could you just click on more? If you press on more, yeah. Can you see over here? What I did, this was my project in 2018, where as part of my MA degree program, I had opted for a course of language, this one, teaching and learning through technology. This was the course title, I fairly remember today. So we were asked to make your own blog and consider this scenario that you are going on a leave and you have to hand over an online portal to another teacher. You know, many of us have already gone or might be going to a maternity leave. Then how do teachers, they take over your lessons? So in order to make your plan up to a date and also help the teacher ahead, I think this idea was a great that we had in mind, and we created our own blog. So in this manner, what happens week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, each week gives us a task to do with students. Now, this was done in 2018. When 2020 had come in place, I was still teaching A levels and the same course unit, language acquisition and children. I wouldn't believe this would be so useful in that, because the schools were on lockdown. Students were just in the middle of submitting their assignments for grades, and so many things were going on. This link was so helpful. I just had to send the link across to my students, and they were able to access at their own pace. So they did week-wise all of these activities and exercises that were given in. They had the textbook. All they had to do is to access the teaching and learning and explanation through this website link. So, I mean, these are some of the things that you could practice. You could have your own and could help other teachers as well at the same time if you are going on a leave. Not just this, we can do a lot of planning through these kind of blogs. You can do your own macro planning and keep it at your own use. So you can just simply send an email with the link, and I think everyone has the access to it. Thank you very much for presenting this. I think we can close this link now. I don't have much anything else to.
Thank you, Ms. Diana.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing such great tips and techniques with our audience today. And now we'll be taking questions addressed to Ms. Diana during the session.
Yes.
If you have any question, you may write them in the chat box, please. Learning?
Okay. Is there any negative effect of blended learning? Yes, if it is not supervised. So supervision is very, very important. As we say, the do's and don'ts. So the do's and don'ts are really, really important for both the teachers, the parents, and children themselves to acknowledge. So there are negative effects when we do not supervise. So it's important. Setting protocols is very, very important. Sometimes children spend a lot of time on devices, on their own learning devices. So teachers sometimes they say, my student was playing games in the classroom. So what do you need to do? Then again, there's intense engagement that is required. Setting protocols is important. Otherwise, again, technology might take your place if it is not supervised in the right manner. So I think during side of it, I don't think we should ignore what negative sides it can help us or help us negatives of all. The last slide, I think the last point here, sustainability and intergenerational benefits of e-learning. When I mean, it's a broad term. If I have to say intergenerational, this means that if you don't train your children, if you don't train your students at this time, I think they would have a great loss, because the world is moving really fast and is entering into great fields through technology. So I think we shouldn't be restricting its use in lessons. I have this Cambridge link, which I was just talking about a while back. You can access this link and see what Cambridge has to say, a very recent one, just 2 days back. My co-host, if it's possible for you to share this link, maybe they can take it from the chat. And I think presentation won't be, presentation can easily be shared. I don't mind if you need it. I think this can easily be sent around. So this is one of the, you can copy paste on your own browsers. This is one of the very recent blogs of Cambridge where they offer schools to join them and serve the purpose of education through different modules and different types of blended learning. Now, over here in the last presentation slide, I've given about freedom of study. There are many parents who travel from one place to another, so children may face disrupted learning, and that shouldn't happen. So how could we overcome this? Then if suddenly a student falls into a category where they need to stay at home for various reasons, well-being or medical reasons, and learning can get disrupted again. So online, I think they can still register and enroll themselves and be part of learning, and can, of course, access learning in a very, very inclusive manner. Access to wider curriculum. Yeah, there is no restriction on serving through any type of curriculum. Technology is for all. Then control and pace. There, again, as I mentioned, that there are different needs of learners. They can access through technology at a very different pace. And then benefits to higher education. If you now know how to use technology, I think you can be a great user of technology when you enter higher education. And I think that serves the purpose of sustainability as well. How do we become sustainable? We know the SDG goals of United Nations. It very broadly mentions about sustainability. So if we are taking away technology, I think we are taking away a greater part of education. And I think that's all from my end. If I've not taken any time over, no, I think I've ended it well in time. If you have anything to ask me, please go ahead. Let's extend collaboration. So let's have more collaboration through question and answers. You can ask me now if you've got any burning questions there.
Yes, please, if you have any questions, just type them in the chat box. We still have time for Ms. Diana. Thank you, Ms. Diana, for your efforts.
You're most welcome. I really enjoyed the sessions, this one, and I just joined the last bit.
If you have any questions, please type them in the chat box.
Thank you very much for listening to me and joining the session. I've got my Twitter and LinkedIn connection as well. If you would like to connect with me, these two are there for you to join and